Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us for Lifetime's Q&A session for hopeful adoptive parents. My name is Kim King and I'm here with Heather Featherston, and we're excited to spend the next 30 minutes with you answering the questions that are currently on your minds. If you are attending live, we welcome you to pop into your questions box and type a message to us. Say hello. Let us know how your summer is going so far. Let us know if you're experiencing any of the crazy weather that many parts of the country are experiencing or expecting. Let us know that by typing into your questions box. It's good to identify where that is so you can be a part of the conversation, and let us know your comments as we spend this time talking about the questions people are asking, or maybe you have some questions that pop up while you're listening. Now, we did receive several great questions through the registration, so we'll be sure to answer those, and we'll be answering as many questions as we can. Of course, we're not going to be able to answer every specific question that every family will have on their mind. So if after the call today, after the webinar, you are still kind of uncertain about something or want to kind of run a scenario by us, maybe you have some specific, maybe out of the ordinary circumstances, and you
Mhm.
want to know how the adoption process could look for you, be sure to reach out to us. My email address is kim@lifetimeadoption.com. You can also request our general adoption information for adoptive parents if you haven't already done so. We have a great email that has tons of details about what you can expect with Lifetime. So email me, kim@lifetimeadoption.com. You can also call to speak with us, and we are available for general family support Monday through Friday until 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And the number is 727-493-0933. Now, if you're brand new to Lifetime Adoption and maybe you haven't connected with us just yet, we actually are one of the few agencies in the US that offers a free application you can fill out right there on our site at lifetimeadoption.com. If you are viewing your screen right now, there is a QR code to take you right to the application. So we encourage you to fill that out. That's a great way to continue the conversation with us. You're already here on the webinar, so you're already taking a step toward the adoption process, and filling out the application is a great natural way to expand that exploration and let us help point you in the right direction, whether your adoption is meant to be with Lifetime, perhaps we identify that we could have a great partnership, or perhaps we can point you on in the right direction toward the child that God has for you. So be sure to fill out the application. It's free. We've streamlined it over the years because we're really focusing in on the things that we need to know, and it should only take about 15 to 20 minutes to fill that out. And you are welcome to fill that out whether you are new to the adoption process, or if you are looking to expand your search, maybe after getting a home study done locally and you want to expand your search with an agency like Lifetime. We work nationwide. We're a licensed child placing agency in the states of Florida and Arkansas, and we have completed adoptions in every state across the nation. And Heather, that kind of naturally segues us into, some of the questions that people have for
Right.
us for our Q&A today.
That's right. And we'll get started, I think, with this first question that was submitted on the registration report. I wasn't exactly sure what was meant here, but what age can you start adopting children? I don't know if that means the age of the parents or if it means the age of the children.
Let's talk about everyone's ages. So most states are going to expect you to be at least 18 or 21 years old
Mhm.
as far as like state requirements. Now, some agencies may require adoptive parents to be a little older than that, but they have their own agency requirements on top of state requirements sometimes. So you need to
Mhm.
be an adult, right, in order to adopt a child. Most children in the US adopted through private adoption are newborns, so these are generally matched throughout the pregnancy or maybe right at the hospital. And in most cases, over 95% of our adoptions here at Lifetime Adoption are newborns, where you actually travel to the hospital and that's where you meet your baby for the first time. And if you're looking at your screen, you see one of our lovely adoptive parents holding their baby at the hospital. So that is very indicative of the typical adoption process here with Lifetime Adoption.
Mhm.
Now, age of adoptive parents varies. Most families that we work with are 20s, 30s, 40s. We have been able to help some families that are in their maybe early 50s. And I think if you are on the older end of that, you really need to think about how you can be more proactive and how you can have very open adoption preferences to give yourself the best opportunity to adopt in a timely manner. Because, if you're 49, 50, 51, and so forth, time is of the essence. There is a
Right,
window of opportunity, but we want to make the most of that. I want to
right.
also talk about age of birth moms. I know that's not the question here, but we're talking about
Mhm.
everyone's ages. Most birth moms that work with Lifetime are mid 20s, right, Heather?
That's right. They're usually in their mid-20s. Many of them already had a child. And I think by and large, what's driving them toward adoption is the desire for their child to have a better life than they can provide. Often I'm asked, well, if they're already parenting a child, why can't they keep this one too? And certainly they can. Many of the birth mothers we work with can parent. It's not that they don't want to, it's that they truly see what their current child or children have, what they're able to provide, and they really have determined that they want to make this truly sacrificial decision to ensure that this child has a better life. Sure, there are some moms we work with who may struggle with addiction, or who may be in a situation that just doesn't allow them to parent. For instance, right now we're working with a young lady who is incarcerated. Even though she really can't parent, she still wants more for this child than she can provide. So really, that's what we see. And yes, getting back to ages, Kim, the youngest we've ever helped has been 11. The oldest has been early 40s. Women, two women at least I know of, who thought they were starting menopause early, but nope, they were unexpectedly pregnant.
And usually these are women that are very much on their own in the world. They typically aren't married, but we have helped married couples who are in a tough circumstance and want to choose adoption for this baby or this next baby, and, have that baby go to a family that has the stability and resources and is longing to be parents. We've also, Heather, I know we've had couples that place a baby that had decided early on in their marriages that they didn't want to have children, and that's what brings them to adoption for this pregnancy.
Hmm. Absolutely. So let's see our next question here. And this is a great question. Are there cost differences by state? And I think, I'll just speak to first the part we don't know, and that is birth mothers. Your birth mother can come with Lifetime from any state, and there will be cost differences by state depending on what's legally required to complete an adoption in that state. So that is going to be an unknown in terms of some states require the use of an agency. Some states require separate representation. It just really depends. So that's kind of a question mark until you know the state your birth mom is coming from. But Kim, what about for the family state? Are there cost differences?
Well, with lifetime adoption, we have a flat fee for you no matter what state you're in.
Hmm.
When it comes to your home study, there is a little bit of a range there, and we can help you identify kind of what you can expect. There are certainly some states that are more expensive than others. Most states across the country are going to fall within a pretty typical range of costs that their home studies are usually around 2 or 3,000. Most states are going to fall within that. But
Hmm.
this is a question that I'd like to first find out what state you're in to be able to
Right.
guide you a little more. So just send me an email, kim@lifetimeadoption.com. Definitely let me know what state you're in and any specific questions that you might have, because when you let us know your state, then that really gives, us the kind of a flag that pops up that we're like, oh, that's a state where the home study is more like 4 to 6,000 versus two to
Hmm.
3,000
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
that there are some specific requirements for that state. So since we're nationwide, we can give you the heads up on that early on. But yeah, there are definitely things that we're going to have to wait to find out until we get the match in place and we know what state the birth mother is in.
Hmm. Absolutely. So on that whole cost aspect,
Mhm.
could you share a little bit about Lifetime's resources for helping families build and develop their adoption budget? Are there resources for funding?
We have a really great resources page on our site. If you go to lifetimeadoption.com/financing, there's a whole webinar that will talk with you about the strategy for funding and what's been successful for other families. At lifetimeadoption.com/financing, you're also going to have a link directly to the irs.gov with the current federal adoption tax credit information. That's a tax credit specifically for adoptive parents. And I believe at the moment it's around 15,000 and comes off your tax liability. So that's
Mhm,
really good to learn about and keep in mind because that's going to help you kind of know what you're open to considering. Like maybe without the tax credit, financing kind of maybe wouldn't be such an option for you, but maybe if you know that you're financing 25,000 of your adoption budget and 15,000 is going to come back to you later via the tax credit, then you don't feel like it's such a big commitment long term. We're looking at the big picture. Most
mhm,
families will make a plan for savings, pull from savings, borrow from a 401k, do a home equity line of credit or a line of credit. It's really good to first understand, identify what the adoption budget should be, and that's information we can email you, kim@lifetimeadoption.com, just so you can have the current information. So identify realistically what it's going to take financially to adopt privately within the US, meaning not through the foster system where it's
mhm.
trying to adopt a child that's in the foster system. We don't know if adoption is going to be an option and it's government funded, but it's a tedious process that doesn't always end in adoption. But with private adoption, this is where a woman is choosing adoption for this baby, choosing you, and it's a voluntary relinquishment. So you're paying those expenses for those services. So with private adoption, it's just really good to first identify the total cost and then look at the resources you actually have access to. See if you need to take a time out for 6 months to 12 months to work a savings plan, increase your income in ways that maybe you can now, but maybe won't be as appealing once you're already parenting. So if it's your first baby, maybe get a part-time job on the side, maybe leverage some of your hobbies or interests to generate a little more income. I know
Mhm,
one family, her entire paycheck is going to go toward the adoption because his paycheck covers all their expenses. So that's
oh,
ideal, right?
mhm,
But if you
mhm,
can kind of move the meter in that direction, I think that's good. Make some
mhm.
progress there. So savings, financing, tax credit in mind. Don't forget, employers have adoption benefits. So you want to
Yes.
see like what that could be. Not all employers, but many employers have actual funding toward your adoption, actually money that they're going to give you to help you with your adoption. So you want
Mhm,
to, type out an email to your HR, get that going, give them a chance to respond to you so you can know if that is a stream that you can count on toward your adoption. Don't
mhm.
forget, people around you may be willing to help you with your adoption funding, maybe in a small way, maybe in a large way. It all works together to piece this adoption fund together from a variety of different sources. It doesn't all have to come from savings or doesn't all have to come through financing, but you can do some through each of those and then maybe some contributions from friends and family, maybe do a couple fundraisers. Doesn't have to be just one fundraiser. It can be an
Right.
in-person fundraiser, a lot of work, but lots of fun and can be, a great way to involve the community. Maybe your church family, maybe they can pray about it and assess your circumstances, and maybe they can do an extra offering a couple times to
Mhm,
gather those funds for you. You can even set up crowdfunding online. So lots
mm.
of things, but go to lifetimeadoption.com/financing. And I will say the typical American family with time and a plan is able to do this,
That's
or
right.
typical family in America.
There you go. Um, so let's get kind of away now from the financing part of it. And I thought this was a great question. It asked a little more about what was the difference between open and closed adoption, and what does open adoption mean? And I'd like to just start by sharing that if you are looking for a domestic newborn adoption and you were hoping for a closed adoption, that's not really going to be an option. Closed adoptions are pretty much a thing of the past. And so at Lifetime, we don't offer closed adoption. We encourage families who are seeking that to maybe find another path. And to be honest, I don't even have an agency referral of anyone who does a closed adoption. Now, occasionally, we will talk to a mom who says, I don't want any future contact, and I don't even want to know anything about them. And that may seem like it's a closed adoption, but what often happens, in fact, this just happened a couple weeks ago, is a young woman, that's what she said. But as the time grew a little closer, she asked, could I see a picture of the couple who's going to adopt my baby? Sure, absolutely. We sent their adoption profile so she could see more about them. And then she said, do you think they would be open to meeting with me just once, just in the hospital? Yes, absolutely. And after she met them, they realized she could see their love for her child. She could see how much they treasured not just the child, but they treasured her and her choice. And now she has expressed, what, I really hope, they're okay staying in touch with me. Many women, when they express, I don't want any contact, that changes as they get closer to that time because women have never done this before. So occasionally it does happen that moms say that and they hold true. They don't want any contact. But we have so few of those anymore that closed adoption is it can't be anything we offer because we couldn't really successfully fulfill that request. Because on the flip side of that is open adoption, and that's where the birth mother makes the choices, and that is what is prevalent in modern adoption today in the US is birth mother makes the choices. That means she chooses the adoptive parents. She can choose to talk to them, to get to know them. She's given the opportunity, if she wants to talk to more than one, she can do that. She can choose what future contact she wants. She can choose to have letters and pictures. She can choose to have visits once or twice a year. She can choose contact through texting. All of that is discussed at the time of match with the family, but those are choices she can make. And she can also choose how things go at the hospital. She can see and hold her baby. She is the mother until she relinquishes those parental rights. So I don't say that to scare anyone. If that does sound scary, learning about open adoption, learning that women are making the decision for open adoption, even though they have everyone in their lives saying things like, oh, I'll help you parent. You don't have to do that. Come on, you're not serious about that. These are the things that women are hearing. They don't get a lot of support when they're choosing adoption. So you can start to see a picture of someone who truly is making a sacrificial decision, a decision that will break her heart to make, but she's doing it for her child. So many times we hear from families who are new to the concept of open adoption that doesn't that mean she come back and try to get her baby? No, not at all. And in fact, most women that never enters their mind coming to get their baby because they chose you for a reason. And when they are building that relationship with you, which again, when we're talking about future contact, we're talking about updates, maybe getting together for a visit once or twice a year. Those first few years, you can't really have a relationship with a 1-year old is pretty one-sided. So that relationship is with you, the adoptive parents. And when you are in this open adoption relationship because you all share the same love for the child, you really are really it grows your heart for the birth mother. It really, really does.
When it comes to open adoption, families often want to know as a follow-up, what does that really look like? Okay, so now if we're understanding what her intentions are, we're understanding it doesn't give her the legal right to undo the adoption or anything. what is our obligation with open adoption? And I usually let families know that here at Lifetime, what's typical is that families are open to sending updates to the birth mom a couple times a year, and they're willing to have a once a year meetup with her. Now, we want to, here at Lifetime, give everyone a realistic expectation of what it means to say we want to have visits or we're open to having visits. So, with Lifetime, our definition of visits is meeting in a public, neutral location,
Hmm.
such as a restaurant, a park, somewhere where there are family activities that you can all enjoy together. Age appropriate for the child, take some photos. It's kind of like a play date scenario.
Hmm.
Remember, by then you all know each other and have kind of kept in touch through the years, so you're not strangers or anything, and you now are settled as well in your roles as mom and dad, and you are confident that your child knows you as mom and dad. So meeting in a public neutral location is one basic guideline and a healthy expectation to establish, and that it's as long as things are positive with birth moms. This is not legal shared custody or anything like that. This is not visitation. She doesn't have a legal right to this. But when you agree to open adoption with a birth mom, it's more of a covenant. It's a promise and a commitment you're making as long as it's in the best interest of the child. And I will say, Heather, that it's not as likely for adoptive parents to hear from a birth mom and a birth mom who wants to plan a visit, but she's in a really rough patch in her life right now.
Right, right.
That's not generally when they're going to even be able to travel, because another point is that travel is their responsibility. She is responsible for her own travel. We do not ask our adoptive parents here at Lifetime Adoption to obligate themselves to travel back to the birth state every year for this meetup.
Hmm.
And birth moms also understand that families can move around and might have a job opportunity or a family need that they need to move to another state. And so we let birth moms know that they're responsible for their own travel. And it's just not likely that she's going to want to or be able to do all this while she's going through a rough patch.
Right.
Um, so usually it's while things are going pretty decently for her that you'll have that regular contact. And
Hmm.
that contact can ebb and flow, but we just ask our families to have the expectation that they, as adoptive parents, will stand ready to fulfill their commitment they originally made to birth mom, whether she is going through an unstable time throughout the years and kind of pops up every now and then and fades off and they don't really hear back from her. That's fine, but if you can preserve that connection for the sake of your child, it's actually shown, and mental health professionals agree that open adoption is what's in the best interest of a child. And usually, once birth moms find out about that, they want that for their child too.
Right.
So, hopefully, you can maintain that connection through sending those updates and having the once a year visit. But if she's not able to visit that one year, that's fine. Birth
Hmm.
Birth moms generally are not in a role where the child would be disappointed or devastated or heartbroken that birth mom wasn't able to visit them that summer.
Hmm.
It's usually not that kind of relationship. So we can talk more about open adoption directly with you if you have more specific questions about it. There is a great webinar called Modern Christian Adoption. You can email me to get that link, and I'll be happy to send that over. That is one of the best resources to help you as you start to navigate open adoption and just adoption in general, which is open adoption, because only I think less than 5% of adoptions in the US are even closed now. So it's like
Hmm.
Heather said, becoming so obsolete.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think on this, one of the questions we also hear is, isn't open adoption then more confusing for the child? And I would say emphatically no. In fact, it's less confusing because today families are encouraged to tell their child their story, their adoption story from the very beginning. And that means when they're still a babe in arms. And that's for two reasons. One is so that your child always knows the truth, and the other is so that as parents, we get comfortable before they really can hear and understand telling the story. We have the words so that when they do later on ask questions, it's easier to ask that because we've normalized the conversation. Um, it just it's so many beautiful books out there for children, from board books on, that explain adoption in beautiful, loving terms. And that's really what adoption is it is a beautiful, loving choice with with the child at the center of it.
And specifically with lifetime adoption, there are going to be some factors that pretty much span almost every adoption here. A birth mother made
Hmm.
a loving choice. She chose adoption and chose
Hmm.
a family. um, she placed this child for adoption. And while she's not mommy and daddy every day like we are, she's your tummy mommy. And we love her so much. And we appreciate so much what she went through to provide a better life for you. She wanted you to have a good life that she just couldn't provide.
Hmm.
And we were
Hmm.
longing for a child. We were praying to God that He would bring us a baby. And then you and birth mom were the answer to our prayers.
Hmm. Absolutely. So let's hop next to this is a question we do hear pretty frequently. What can we do to shorten the wait time? Now, we just talked about open adoption, which means the birth mother chooses you as adoptive parents. And that's common no matter where you go in private adoption today. So families are, in essence, not a number on a list. Um, you are actively shown to birth parents, and she is the one who chooses you. So this is kind of a big question, but I think one of the first answers is don't wait to get started. We occasionally will have families who say, "Yeah, no, I've been looking at your website for 2 years," and it's like, "Wow, you know what? Those are 2 years the family could have already, perhaps even adopted." So, if you're in that investigation phase, stay in that investigation phase till you're ready to move forward, but don't put things off too long, because every day you wait is a day further away from your adoption, from the child God has for you. So, no matter where you are in the process, keep going, don't stop. Beyond that, once you are a lifetime family, start your adoption home study. Lifetime will give you referrals to home study providers in your area. Get that started. Fill out the questionnaire the home study writer gives you. Go get the background checks. Keep things moving forward. When it comes to working with us on your website and your profile, same thing. Follow, get things started, move along. Don't wait for the perfect pictures. Go and proactively take great pictures. Don't, wait till a certain day or time, or till Christmas break to get things done. Keep things moving. Even if you just work on it a little bit every day, that's the progress you need to move forward. And then also, I would say, really look at your preferences. And when we talk about preferences, we're talking about the race of child you're open to, the age of child you're open to, um, uh, prenatal substance exposure you would consider, any special needs you might be open to. You want to ensure that your preferences are honest. They are a reflection of what you would say yes to, but also that they're not too restrictive. The more narrow those are going to be, the longer your wait's likely going to take, simply because it means we'll be able to show you to fewer opportunities. So that's one thing also really important in Lifetime's program is we have a lot of information on how you can also network. Once you've gotten everything done in Lifetime and you're at the waiting period, waiting to be chosen, we have a lot of other things you can do to ensure that you are shown even more, and really following those uh, really can help shorten that wait time. In fact, just 2 months ago in May, end of May, we had a family who was waiting with Lifetime, and they had been really using those tools that we provide, and they matched with a mom through a mutual friend. And believe it or not, I was shocked. It was the first time for Lifetime. That mom was carrying natural triplets. So they were born in May. That family has their three little girls now home. And it was, like I say, in Lifetime's nearly 40-year history, that's the first set of triplets we've had. We've had many twins, but never triplets. So it's really there are things you can do to shorten the wait time, but I would just underline just keep moving forward.
Hmm. Absolutely. Baby steps in the right direction, right?
That's right. That's right.
So
Let
before
me
we conclude, oh,
we have
one
one more
more.
question. Yeah.
All right, well, here we go. How are birth mothers taken care of during their pregnancy and after? At Lifetime, this is something that we really value. We want to ensure that a woman is supported and empowered as she explores the option of adoption and learns about her options in adoption, and that she understands that she really is in the driver's seat in creating an adoption plan she feels confident about for herself and for that baby.
Mhm.
So that's our point of view, is supporting her, and we don't assume that every woman that bats an eyelash in our direction here at Lifetime is going to decide adoption is the right plan. We want to educate every woman we encounter, because whether adoption is for her or not, it's best that she knows she truly has options and that she can share that information going forward. In fact, we love it when maybe adoption wasn't for her and she's able to parent, but then her cousin calls us a couple years later and says, "Hey, my cousin talked with Diane, and she said she was the nicest person and supported her through a really difficult time. And she said that if I just call and ask for Diane, she'll help me." And Diane's one of our birth mother coordinators here at Lifetime.
Mhm.
And Diane built that connection with that original woman that didn't choose adoption, but then was able to somewhat educate her cousin and point her in the right direction, to where then her cousin was a woman that decided adoption was the right solution for her situation. We provide 24/7 support for birth moms from first contact on into the future, labor bags with supplies that they can use at the hospital. We receive very thoughtful donations from people in the community, as well as adoptive parents in waiting or previous successful adoptive parents who have already moved on to parenting. But they remember birth moms are needing things like socks and basic toiletries and maybe some pajamas or maybe some clothing they can wear during pregnancy and after, right? So we
Mhm.
can send food, clothing, labor bags, something for her to keep her things in together, because not every woman even has that. We provide licensed third party counseling as well as peer counseling. We also help talk with the birth mom through maybe what her goals for herself may be.
Mhm.
And there have been birth moms that we've helped on those next steps to reaching their goals. And maybe these are women that sometimes don't have anyone in their life that they would see as a role model or a mentor. They don't know anyone who's made really positive decisions and had a career or was able to really provide stability in their own lives
Mhm.
through having an occupation. So our coordinators can sometimes be that person for them. And
Yes.
sometimes we're the first positive person in their life, along with the adoptive parents that they meet through
Mhm.
adoption.
Mhm. And I would like to add that we are there for birth mothers for a lifetime. We still hear from birth mothers who placed 25 years ago.
Mm.
Um, that is really a reflection of their connection to their coordinator and to Lifetime. And I just want to, whomever asked this question, thank you, because as you explore adoption, that is one of the things I think that adoptive families should ensure that they know, is that whomever they're working with, how are you taking care of the moms who place? Because it's one of those things that's actually a hot topic in adoption today, because it has not been prioritized. I'm very proud to
Mhm.
say Lifetime has always prioritized it. So as you are exploring who you work with, definitely ask that question and ensure that whatever they are providing, you feel is in line with your values and the values you would place on a mother who is placing a child with you.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Heather, kind of the state of services in the
Hmm.
adoption world here today. The things we've shared with you, we're educating you, helping you learn what we do here at Lifetime. It's easy to think these are the norm, but they're not. All those
Hmm.
birth mother support and services things that I mentioned, there are a lot of adoption professionals that don't do any of that. They're really
Hmm.
just after the baby. They want to satisfy the needs of adoptive parents. And sometimes adoptive parents are fine with that and they don't really think about what's happening on the other end of the phone line where there's a real woman out there making the toughest decision of her life. So I want to just point out that this is not the norm, but this is our norm here at Lifetime. And if those values align with you, I think you should fill out the application at lifetimeadoption.com. Also, you can learn a little bit more about Lifetime at lifetimefoundation.org and see some of the testimonials of the women that we've helped through our Birth Mother Educational Scholarship.
Hmm.
Here, if you're looking at your screen, you can see a QR code for the application. Feel free to get started on that. If you're unsure of any answers, just get as far as you can and then we can help you through it. We're known for our step-by-step guidance. We don't want this to be an overwhelming thing for you. We want this to be something where you can move forward, be empowered as well as adoptive parents, get answers as much as we can. There are going to be some things we can't answer until we get there, right? It's
Hmm.
adoption after all. We want to be sure that you have someone to walk with you. So if you have questions, reach out. You can also email kim@lifetimeadoption.com. You can call us weekdays for adoptive family general support, 727-493-0933 until 7 p.m. Eastern Time during the week. And thank you so much for taking the time with us and investing in your adoption education. You're already making great choices.